So here's another simple project that will introduce you to some more elements of Blender. I'm going to use the grease pencil down here. Select draw, and if I draw, you will see that it draws in the plane that you were looking at. Now we don't want that, so Control Z gets rid of that. I want to draw down onto the base of my area, so I view top, select the draw, and draw out what I want. I then press the N button to get this panel, and you'll see in this panel we have the G pencil again. So we drew with it over there, but its properties are written here, and we want to convert the greaseproof pencil, and it offers you a path, a bezier. We'll go with path. Now if I go back here and select the erase button, you can see we can erase the black, and we have a path drawn underneath. Right. I then select that part with the right button. You can see it changed color. I could do it with the A key as well. It's deselect, that selects, deselect, select everything in the window. And now I need to convert this from a path to a mesh. So down here I'm working in object mode the whole time. Object, up to the top, convert to mesh. Alright, select that. I can now go into edit mode, so I can either do that down there, or I can do it with my tab button. I'm now in edit mode with the tab button. I'm now in edit mode. And if I press A, select all, you can see I've now got masses and masses of little vertices. Now these are too many to work with unless you've got a very powerful computer, and also it gets very complicated. Now fortunately within Blender there's a really useful tool called remove doubles. So with all my little vertices, my spots, and there's the vertices marked there, selected, I press remove doubles, and it has the merge distance down here. Now about 0.5, and then press enter, and you can see it's merged them all down to a certain distance. I could put 0.8, and then it merges them even more, or 0.1, press enter each time, and then that's more. I think I'm going to go with 0.6. Press enter, I put that in with my keyboard, and then press enter on my keyboard. Right. So I now have lots of little dots roughly in the area that I drew. Now this can be extruded vertically, right? Z or blue being my vertical. So on my keyboard, with all these selected, if they weren't selected for some reason, you must select them all. So I'm using the A key. Select them all, press E, and if you don't select where you're going to extrude to, it can go in any direction. And that's quite interesting. But I do want to go vertically now, so Control Z is undo, Control Z undo. So extrude, E, and in the Z axis press the Z key, and you can see now I've got a line up in that direction. So I can now extrude it up there. So let's get rid of this window with the N, get rid of this one with the T, and press the Home key to get it down into the middle. Home key over on the right hand side of your keyboard. So now you have an extrusion up into three-dimensional space. If by any chance you didn't want these wings sticking out the end here, I will undo. I will then, with a right click, just select the vertice that I don't want, press the delete key and delete the vertice. Similarly over there, vertice, similarly over there, vertice. Then from the top, if I wanted this to be more pointy, I could select the vertice, press G for grab and pull it out. Select the vertice, right button, G for grab, pull it. Now whenever you do G for grab, it remains in that plane. If we're working at a slight angle and I did G for grab, it wouldn't necessarily be horizontal, so we must be careful to work in either top or whichever view you want to actually move in. Right, so now we've cleaned up our shape a little bit. I press A to deselect and then A again to select everything. So I've selected all my little points. Extrude to extrude, and then I want to extrude up into the Z axis. Press SZ. Right, so I have my star now extruded up. And that could be saved and printed. Let's save it anyway. File, save as, call it, still in desktop, project 2, save. Now, if we wanted to bow out these sides a little bit, we need to add more vertices or little spots in the vertical so that the mesh can then change shape however we want. I mean, obviously this could be sent to a printer and printed. But now, to add more vertices into this area to model with, we want to subdivide these vertical surfaces basically. So view, front, A for the deselect. Now what I want to do is not necessarily select the vertices, but actually select the edges and subdivide the edges. And so this down here is the selection for vertices, the spots. This is actually for edges. So now if I right click, you can see I select an edge, and this selection is for faces. You can see now each face it's got a little spot on it, and I can select a face, or I can select an edge, or I can select a spot. So I now go to edges, view, front, and with my B, pressing the B key, I get a box select, and if I wipe that across, I select all the faces. So there's one problem here. If I turn it around, I'll find I haven't selected the back faces, and I want to select all the back edges. I want to select all the edges. So what I must do is switch on this here, and this is a sort of transparency. So with it off, you can't see through. With it on, you can't see through. Remember, all of this has been done in edit mode. So I'll go view, front again, so I'm absolutely square on. Deselect with A, B for box select, scroll across. Now you can see it will have selected everything right through because it apparently looks transparent. So having selected all the edges, I press T to get this panel back. This is my mesh tools. Alright, I'm working on a mesh. I want my tools, and there's a subdivide here. So if I press subdivide, you can see what is selected is subdivided once. I can subdivide it again and again. Now I'm starting to get more of that mesh that I'll be able to model with. Right, so deselect that. I prefer modeling with vertices, so I'm going back to vertices. Now if I press a select all, you can see there are spots all over now. Deselect that. With my right click, I could grab one vertex, press G for grab, and you can see that can be manipulated. Right, Control Z is undo. Now what I want to do is to bow this out a little bit all around. So what I want to do is press Alt and right click and press on the horizontal line, and you'll see it'll select all the vertices in that horizontal. You can do the same with a vertical. If I press down the Alt key and then a right click, it'll select all the verticals. So Alt, right click is all my horizontals. Now if I press S for scale, I can scale that, but it'll only scale those selected. Control Z undoes that. Now once again, there is a really useful button here, and that is down there, called proportional editing. If we enable that, now when we scale, S for scale, and I pull it. If I roll my middle button, you can see that circle. That's the area of influence that will happen on the scale. So if I roll it really narrow, the influence is not very great. As I extend it, the influence gets bigger. Okay. So that same button, just deselect that. This same proportional editing selected down here can work for any single item. So if I just grab one vertex, you can see the smaller the circle gets, the less its influence. I'm just controlling the size of the circle with my middle mouse button wheel. Control Z and undid it. Right, so if I go back to object mode, that could have been done with a tab. I have an object that once again could be sent off to the printer.